Hey guys, this is Courtney from Willow's Bloom, and I'm here to discuss the Cancer new moon happening on July 17th. And I just wanted to say sorry for those of you who were not able to purchase a relationship analysis reading before they sold out. But if you are interested in a normal reading from me, we can, of course, cover anything related to upcoming transits, relationships, or your natal chart in general. So if you're interested in that, you can check my readings out down below, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys this chart because it is a very important new moon, and I wanted you guys to be able to physically see what I see when I'm looking at this. So this Cancer new moon is, of course, about a new beginning, and Cancer has a lot to do with our emotions and our past and our family and our home. But even more importantly, it has a lot to do with our emotional set point or comfort zone, kind of like where we strive to be in life to feel safe, to feel like things are going well or things are normal for us. And so when we have a new moon in Cancer, we are almost trying to pave a little bit of a wider path to be able to accept different types of experiences within our comfort zone. So having a little bit of an expansion of our potential energy, what we can handle emotionally, what we can handle intellectually. And Cancer is a very strong feeling sign. It's a water sign. And so it's very much concentrated on our emotional capacity, what we can handle in terms of vulnerability, and what we can basically give of ourselves into what we really, really desire in life. And I see a lot of outward facing energy as well of what we can build and construct, but every person that goes out and builds something in the world, their foundation inside is tested, or their home life is what has to bear the weight of that responsibility. Their relationships with their family, or how they feel within, behind closed doors, is what will ultimately hold the infrastructure energetically of what they can build externally out in the world. And so we are trying to create a stronger internal home life, emotional life, to be able to sustain what we desire outside in the world. And this new moon has a lot to do with our personal empowerment because it is opposing Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn, which is retrograde. Pluto is at this critical degree that can represent some kind of crisis in the foundations of society. Capricorn is our hierarchical structures, our banks, our governments, authority figures, and it's also the part of us that's able to put a plan into place and be a leader and actualize a specific goal. And with this very kind of controlled aspect of the self and society in a degree of crisis, and while Pluto's retrograde, it represents that there is still a part of us that is trying to become empowered in our own leadership that has yet to fully reach that potential. And that's why it's opposing this new moon, because while we're creating this new emotional beginning, there's part of us that is being challenged to step up as a leader, as somebody who is strong and can handle maybe a crisis in our own lives. And it can present certain emotional challenges to us, but it asks us, what do we want and how do we really, really create that in our lives? And right now, Venus has been slowing down, getting ready to turn retrograde. It's hanging out at the same degree it's going to be in the first days of the retrograde. So we're getting almost a crisis and questioning of our value systems as well. And that is starting to leak into our relationships, into our consideration of our future and our finances, and just what our priorities are in general. So we're starting to ask a lot of questions about who we are, what we want, where we're going, what we value, and if we can continue to value and prioritize things in the same way as we did before. So while those questions are happening, we're kind of being put in this pressure center, this pressurized cabin. I don't know what to say. A pressurized place where Pluto is saying, okay, it's time to really figure out this energy of Capricorn. It's time for you to create a solid plan and to kind of know where you're going and to commit to something and have an immense amount of self-control and discipline to be able to get there long term, to be able to focus on what that long-term goal is enough to be able to create the emotional strength within yourself and resolution to get there. So it's a lot about that. And we might even find that our personal power is challenged because it's in opposition with the new moon. And so we might find that we are very much tested during this period of time. There is a fated quality to this new moon because Pluto and the new moon are both squaring the nodes. You can see the nodes are at exactly 0 degrees of Taurus and Scorpio, and the new moon is at 24 Cancer and Capricorn at 20, or Pluto at 29 Capricorn. So all of these are within the orb of making a square to the nodes. Today is the very last day that the nodes will be in the Scorpio and Taurus axis. They are going to shift on this day into Aries and Libra, which is going to change our evolutionary focus for the next year and a half. So whatever we are being pushed to embody within ourselves is something that has been building over the last year and a half. And it's almost saying you've had a year and a half to figure this out, how to empower yourself, how to have a plan, how to be disciplined, how to know what you want, how to make it happen. And there's something that you still haven't actually figured out. There's something that you still haven't committed to, or that you haven't fully seen through, that this new moon is going to create some kind of crisis or destined fated moment around for you to realize how to step up in that area of your life. And again, this is not so much about the external as much as it is about the internal, because there's something within us that feels like it's not ready. There's something in us that feels like it's not strong enough, or that it's not clear enough, or whatever it is within our emotional center that is unresolved or not healed or is looking for support, and when it needs really to feel its own power. So there's something within us that is trying to be up-leveled so that we can reach for the destiny that this North and South Node in Taurus and Scorpio was trying to provide us. And the North Node being in Taurus is really about us creating a solid foundation and future for ourselves. So how do we create confidence for ourselves? How do we create a financial future for ourselves that feels really safe and secure? How do we create something that feels sustainable as well? So bit by bit, we're becoming stronger and stronger. How do we feel autonomous and able to support ourselves? If there is still things in our emotional being that feels like we haven't done the inner work to get us there, to be able to work on that with confidence, this new moon is going to bring it out, and it's going to show us, okay, you started to build this future for yourself. You started to become more confident or make more money or have a more sustainable future. And you started to think about how maybe to work the right amount and make the right amount of money. And it's going to look different wherever your Taurus energy is. You started to develop that as a soul, but then you reached an impasse emotionally or with emotional maturity that you need to overcome. And this new moon with this opposition with Pluto is going to force us to face our fears or our shadows or whatever it is inside of us that has prevented us from feeling internally strong enough to actually finally turn over this leaf and finally learn this lesson around this Taurus energy. And I'll go over what this is for the signs. But again, whatever house you have Taurus is part of where that lesson is meant to be for you. So if there is something in your being where you felt like you have kind of worked on it and have kind of been ready for something new and have been, and venturing onto a new path, but you haven't emotionally committed to it, this is your opportunity to do so. This new moon is taking place at almost 25 degrees of Cancer, and that Sabian symbol is a leader of men wrapped in an invisible cloak of power. So I think that this is really us. We're all wrapped in an invisible cloak of power, and we're being challenged to see that power for what it is on the inside and the outside in our lives. And we might have sometimes a challenge to that power in order to see that it's even there. And it is an invisible cloak. So there's something in the situation where we're not seeing how strong and powerful we actually are. And again, sometimes we have to get the outside forces to push on us, to push back for us to be like, oh, now I see why I was holding back, or now I see how strong I am. And we can step up to the plate. I think that many of us have been stuck in a little bit of an energy of like daydreaming because this new moon is trining Neptune. And there's always this feeling of wanting to move towards what feels good and continuing to stay in our comfort zone and just dream about what we want and talk about what we want and idealize what we want, but not actually put it into plan and action, not actually hold ourselves accountable and become the leaders of our own life that we need to be. So this trine is quite complacent in my opinion. I think that it allows us to get stuck in the realm of ideation and energy and emotion, and not the physical realm that this square with Pluto to the nodes is trying to initiate within us. However, this trine can be also utilized in a positive way by helping us tap into our visionary sense of self. What do we see for our future? What does the universe want for us? What is spirit speaking into our hearts and souls? And if we're able to emotionally translate that into an idea and then act, that is the full fruition of this energy. But some of us will get stuck in this cycle of ease that trines present. And that is what we're needing to move out of. Ultimately, it has a lot to do with the lack of confidence with this new moon also squaring Chiron and Aries. There is a feeling that maybe we're just not good enough. Maybe we don't have what it takes. Maybe we're not brave enough. Maybe we're not ready to go onto this new horizon and reach for more. It takes a great deal of courage to want to do this thing. And Chiron brings about the insecurity of I'm not sure if I'm there yet. And it's okay to not 100% be there yet, but can we still take steps forward anyway? And I think that this new moon is going to help us grow in resilience, because it's definitely not going to give us what we want from the get-go. However, I think it's going to help us ultimately, if we decide to make certain changes in our lives, it's going to help us break free from stuck patterns. And this new moon is sextiling Uranus in Taurus. So Uranus in Taurus ultimately is trying to bring changeability and adaptability to the most kind of stuck area of our life. Taurus has some of the most stable energy, consistent energy, and Uranus is saying, that's great, and I'm glad that you've pursued security for yourself, but actually the way that you pursue security needs to change. And that's why these squares to the nodes are asking us, yes, we want something long-term and sustainable for you. We want something secure for you, but the way that you've been going about it is not actually right. And now we have to present to you some kind of emotional crisis or physical crisis for you to see that you need to change how you feel on the inside, change your emotions about things to align yourself with a new way of pursuing security or a new vision of what that's like. Or maybe you already know what that is, but you have been afraid to actually do it. And this sextile with Uranus can help us take those first steps. So it's a very big deal that the nodes are changing signs on the same day of this moon right after this. It's really trying to give us our last push, our last faded nod that we can do this. We're giving you this kind of support and this energy, and this is your chance right now. With Mercury and Leo squaring Jupiter, so Mercury and Leo squaring Jupiter, pretty tightly squaring, many of us have big ideas and we can see kind of where we want to go. Especially with Mercury being in Leo, we're much more connected to our own passions and creative interests. And Jupiter is excited about this. Jupiter wants us to want more and to invest into this and it can really stir up the passions and the visions of what could be. But that doesn't mean that we're going to necessarily act on those visions, especially because Mars is opposite Saturn right now. Mars in Virgo just entered there, is very much a planning phase. Mars wants us to act, and when it's in Virgo, it wants us to act on a plan. It wants us to get detailed, it wants us to get organized, it wants us to know what's next, and to have a checklist and kind of go through everything and not miss a beat. And with the opposition with Saturn, this is really restraining Mars and saying the plans that you want to set into motion, they aren't going to be so easily solved. They're not going to be done in the way that you think they're going to be done. There's going to be frustrations. There's going to be certain delays. Things are not quite as simple and as straightforward as you desire. And that's why this is a very fated moment, because we have to overcome a hurdle right now. We have to strengthen ourselves emotionally for this new path. And it's not just going to be given to us on a little silver platter. We have to actually really push past this period of time, but it's almost like it's building up our own emotional reservoirs of power and resilience. And so even though we might not accomplish what we want at this particular new moon, what it is helping us realize the new path and become strong in our resolve to commit to that new path and emotionally align with that new path to the point that nothing can stop us. But this is a point where we're meeting resistance to develop that strength and that conviction. Mars opposite Saturn can lead to disappointments around our unfulfilled desires. And it's really, again, that feeling of being dissatisfied that is going to commit us to change the way that we do things. We have to feel like if we continue on like this, that we're not going to be happy. And if we don't feel that way, we're just going to continue as we always are. And so this is what we need in order to, again, commit to a new way of pursuing long-term security for ourselves, maybe a different type of long-term security, and to have patience and discipline and commitment along that path, to not give up and be able to maybe have our desires delayed for the purpose of creating more conviction, as I mentioned. It's important that we are ultimately not going to utilize this as an excuse for not proceeding. If it's hard, that means that the universe doesn't want this for me, and I'm very frustrated. I'm going to take my frustrations out on other people, or I'm going to, laugh and smile it off and act like it doesn't bother me. And no, this is a time in which we need to be able to face these disappointments and not ignore them, not make jokes about them, not act like it's a sign that we're not meant to do it, but take it in stride. Really be able to look at what's happening and see that as a sign to double down on our desires and our efforts, and again, develop emotional alignment and resiliency for what we really want. So it's important that we step out of a phase of being wishful, idealizing, and hasty, and actually finish the things that we have started, finish the things that we have committed to, and fully turn the corner on something, fully embrace this new chapter of how to pursue long-term security in a different way for ourselves. And so we've already started this. We've already been doing this for a year and a half. This isn't something new. This isn't an entirely new journey, but it's more so about like finishing what we've started, or fully committing to this new way, if that makes sense. Many of us, I think, have had parts of ourselves that we have been hiding in terms of our own talents and our own gifts. And this Venus retrograde is what's going to bring that out to the surface. How have we stayed in our comfort zone and hidden our gifts and talents because we didn't feel comfortable shining those out in the world or asking for recognition? And so many of us are going to see how if we continue like that, our dreams will continue to be unfulfilled and life is unsatisfying. So it's our chance to realize if we want something, we can have it. We are the determining factor it may be delayed, but we can have what we want. But it's our actions and our emotional alignment with our goals that will get us there. And so we have to, again, realize that we have agency. And even though it might feel like with this Saturn opposition that we're being blocked and thwarted and that we might lose agency, we actually always have it. And it's important to create a level of patience and understanding that sometimes things don't go our way at first, but they're getting us to where we want to go eventually. So if you have an idea, but you're lacking direction, if you have certain distractions, or if you have certain delays, again, recognize this as temporary and try to get back on track continuously. It's about continuous effort to putting yourself back on track. If you get distracted or delayed or feeling confused about what's next for yourself, continuously trying to plan, continuously trying to align with your priorities and values. And when September hits, when Venus goes direct on September 3rd, I think many of us will realize that we're starting to finally feel a little bit more certain of where we're headed. And this feeling of being a little bit lost, I think, is going to go away. Hopefully, it will also resolve our restless, unfocused, and impulsive sides of ourselves that is leading to this distraction type of energy. And that is what I'm seeing for this overall new moon. I hope that this resonates for you guys. I would love to hear what you think down below. And of course, if you want a reading from me, you can check all my readings out at willisbloom.com. I can offer any kind of tailored reading towards what you desire. So just shoot me an email at contact@willisbloom.com or check out my website. But let's go ahead and jump into what this will look like for all of the rising signs, and make sure to watch out for your sun sign as well. All right, up first we have Aries rising. For you guys, this Cancer new moon is happening in your 4th house. So many of you guys are having some kind of new emotional beginning where you are feeling you're moving towards more emotional empowerment, especially when it's related to your home, your family, your past, even your childhood, and how you process things from this area of your life. But overall, what this new moon is really bringing in is an extra focus on trying to create financial stability for you. That's why it's squaring the nose in Taurus, the North Node in Taurus, which is where you are meant to create that lasting foundation and approach the way that you go about making money sustainably through a different lens. And that's what you've been working on for the last year and a half. That's been your focus. But now it's time to do some kind of final push and step out of your comfort zone, especially within your career, to feel more empowered, to be able to feel very confident in yourself and make whatever changes you need to make in your career or your life goals and your objectives so that you can have a financially stable future. So I think for many of you guys, this could somehow affect your home life, or there's something with your home and your family and where you live that has to do with the creation of this stable future and the changes of your career that you could go through. And again, this is almost like a faded kind of time where we are, I mean, especially with Pluto, we're asking like what we need to let go of. So there might be something within your path, within your life goals that you are currently investing into that maybe it's time to step away from that. Maybe it doesn't mean that you have to step away from it fully, but there's something about your life goals that you might be investing in that fate and destiny is trying to tell you that if you really want the kind of money that you want or the financial future that you want, you have to move through life differently and reach for different things. And continuing the same career, the same objectives might not get you there, or at least not doing so in the same way, or maybe even living in the same place might not get you there. And it's time to move or have some kind of at least kind of reckoning with your past or with things that could be inside of you that makes you hesitant to reach for those new paths and new horizons for yourself. We all are experiencing Mars opposite Saturn during this period of time. And for you, Saturn's in the 12th house and Mars is in the 6th. So it really feels like the blockages that are coming from Saturn are primarily from the self. The 12th house typically has the energy of self-limitations or self-undoing. And it can come from a lot of fear around loss, fear around not having enough, fear of losing control. And so the Mars in the sixth house energy that wants to maybe kind of hustle and go hard in business and be very good in terms of its routine and responsibilities and health, that Saturn opposite it can undermine that through anxiety and fear in general. And this could be coming through some of your dreams. If you have had any nightmares recently, this is your sign that Saturn is at play. And I really see that with the Nine of Swords and the Ten of Wands. I feel like you guys are holding on to some burden inside that is coming up into your anxieties and dreams. And I feel like the burden is something where maybe you've been working really hard and you haven't had a break, or maybe the style of work that you've been doing isn't the correct style for you. There's something about the way that you've been using your energy to pursue your goals that isn't sustainable for you. And I think that this is really coming out with Saturn opposite Mars, which could make you quite tired. It could, again, even come into your dreams where you might feel tired when you wake up because you've had nightmares all night. It doesn't have to be the case where it's that intense, but it just feels like there's things that have been weighing on you, and ultimately they might even creep into your subconscious. I also pulled the Page of Cups and the Six of Cups. So I really feel like you guys are ready for a new emotional beginning. But again, you have to bring in elements from your past with the Six of Cups. So the Six of Cups has to do with like family and children and past memories and innocence. And so there's something in regards to that that definitely corresponds to the fourth house, which has a lot to do with our own history and our own family and who we were as a child. And so I feel like you guys are maybe actually needing to have some kind of new beginning that incorporates some of who you used to be as a kid. And that might not be the case for everybody, but there's something in here where either you're going to be feeling and moving through some of these past memories, or maybe it's quite literally like things from your past interest and maybe even parts of the self from the past or creative explorations that you're actually able to start incorporating more into your future. I also pulled the Hawk card for you, and this is very much about having a keen eye of where you want to go. And I feel like this correlates with Mercury in the fifth squaring Jupiter in the second. There's part of you that is very much on the lookout of how to make money in a way that feels creative and inspiring to you and doesn't just feel like it sucks out your joy. However, this is a square, so that needs to come through some sort of tension, which means that it doesn't just pop into your brain like, oh, this is how I make money creatively. Oh, that's easy. They kind of seem like they're different, distant elements that you have to bring together through your own resolution, your own creative thinking and problem solving of like, oh, okay, this is how I can bridge these two areas of my life. And I think the Hawk card gives you the ability to have more vision and more kind of ability to widen your lens to be able to let in more information to help understand what changes you can make to your pursuit of the way you make money. So this message is really just trying to say you guys are meant to make money in a different way. You're meant to change how you go about that. And maybe some elements of your career you need to be more empowered in to feel like you can actually make those changes. Some of you might also have new beginnings in the home or family or something related to your childhood or past where that's carrying over into this vision of your financial future. And you might have to confront some of those things that give you anxiety. So if you're having fear of loss or scarcity or losing control, this could come up at this time as well. So I feel like there's a lot of messages in that one, but it's a complicated new moon. So I hope that makes sense for you and you can apply it to your life in the way that it suits you. If it makes sense, I would love to hear in your comments down below because I love to see how it resonates and that always helps my practice. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends, and have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Taurus rising. For you guys, this Cancer new moon is happening in your third house. And eventually it's going to be giving you guys some new ideas. A new moon in the third house is kind of exciting because I feel like it can give us lots of spontaneity and fun and clues about where we want to go in the future. And again, lots of ideas, communication, maybe meeting with people in order to feel like, all right, this is my next step. And sometimes we can have really important conversations or, again, ideas come through that click for us to align with where we're headed next. But Cancer is inherently emotional. So the decisions that you're making, the conversations that you're having are emotional in nature, and they could have something to do with your family or your roots, or even just how you feel about things intuitively and trusting that gut instinct. And so if you're having important conversations and things are clicking for you inside, really take note of them at this time, because that is leading you to a very important next step. And for you, this next step is very, very fated. And I say that because this new moon is squaring the North Node in your sign in your first house. And this is the final day that the North Node will be in Taurus. And the nodes are always destined or fated elements that push us to evolve as a soul. And with this new moon squaring the nodes, there is something that we need to do in our lives to become more emotionally empowered, to create some kind of stable, secure future for ourselves that we have tried to do for the last year and a half, but now we're actually needing to turn the corner and officially commit to it, and commit to doing it in a way that we haven't done it in our past. So we've been trying to create security for ourselves for this last year and a half, and now we're really seeing the different manner of doing that is important for us. So if you've been saying, okay, I want, financial freedom, or I want to travel, or I want to do this, and you keep saying it and saying it, but you're not actually doing things that are different to get there, and you think that maybe I can try this, and I've always kind of done this, and I'm going to try more of that. You'll really see at this new moon that this way of thinking isn't going to get you there, and you'll have new ideas or new paths unfold that will actually help you achieve that. And so we are meant to be empowering ourselves right now, but we need to challenge our existing vision for life. And that's why this new moon is opposite Pluto in the 9th. And that can bring out fears in us where we feel like, oh, well, this is where I always thought I would go, and this is the way I had a plan for my life. And it really forces us to create new belief systems, new visions of the future, new schemas through which we view the world. And so it's not just like, oh, I have an idea, but now I have to actually rewrite who I see myself as in order to be able to achieve this thing. I have to reprioritize or create new beliefs that will actually align with me being able to achieve this goal. But I have to have those beliefs for me to emotionally inside to connect to this goal and this vision and truly pursue it. And that's what Cancer New Moon is about. It's about that emotional connection to be able to say, yes, this is absolutely what I want. And I pulled this Judgment card, which is about a rebirth, an inner calling, or an absolution. So you guys are making a really big decision to commit to something that has a life-changing quality to it. And you will know deep down inside what this is for you. You already know it's something that is coming from an emotional place, and it's just something that is going to light you up on fire with this passion card, and it's going to make you realize that you can move through life in a completely different manner, and you can be a different person and actually have what you want because of that, because of those changes that you're willing to make in who you are and where you're trying to go. You also have Mercury in the 4th squaring Jupiter in the 1st. So I think that many of you guys are having just lots of visions, maybe about who you can be, where you can go, where you can live. And there is a little bit of tension between the situation of where you're living and where you want to grow. So maybe you have an existing house and you want to move, or you want to go somewhere new, and it's how do I make that work? Or maybe you have certain responsibilities with certain family members, but you want to go and do this one thing in your life to learn something new or to do something new for yourself. And it's like they don't quite fit together, but you need to come up with a creative solution to fit these together and ground this idea into reality rather than just it being a desire. We also have Saturn. You also have Saturn in the 11th house opposite Mars in the 5th. So you guys are absolutely driven right now to pursue your soul's calling, to pursue what is actually going to bring you more levity and lightness into your life. But with Saturn in the 11th house, there is a little bit of a feeling of restriction and blockages and delays, especially when it comes to our community. If you have had, you know, if like, let's say you do want to pursue something new that you haven't done before, maybe it somehow affects your existing relationships and your existing connections. And there's a fear there, or there's a judgment there. And it's almost like you need to not let that get in your way, but use that to create more conviction within yourself. Maybe other people won't get it. Maybe you feel like you won't belong, you won't fit in because of this thing that you're trying to do. Or maybe you have to change relationships, or it's going to test your relationships in some capacity. But it's really not about you guys bending to that. It's about you, again, using that as fuel to your fire of further committing to your goals and desires. And I pulled the Nightingale card, so I feel like it's really trying to get you to speak your truth, to voice your opinions, and to not stand down. And the Nightingale is all about communication, which is where this Cancer new moon is happening. It's in the 3rd house of communication. So there's something that is being said, that is being talked about, that is going to really change your life. Again, if there's any important conversations happening right now, this card is an indication that this is fated, and this is going to help you kind of find the next path for yourself. And ultimately, with the 7 of Wands, this is a card around perseverance, but you might have some level of challenge or competition. And as I mentioned, this could come from your own friend group, where you feel challenged to stick to what you have as a desire or goal. This could come from just other people in general in the world or in society that have the same interests as you, wanting to also kind of vie for people's attention or get this thing that you want. It's like, it's not going to just come to you. It really, it takes perseverance. I think that's the main message for everyone, but in this case, also you. And then the last card we have is the Ace of Cups in reverse, which is all about trusting your intuition and doing this for yourself because you love yourself. And so if there's been anything that you have push down and ignore within yourself, it's time to like take it out, look at it, listen to it, feel it, and recognize that you deserve what you want. And if you've been having limitations get in your way, or if you've been distracted or delayed in some way, let's put that aside and commit to this new path for yourself, because you are destined to go on it. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Taurus. If that resonates, I would love to hear down in the comments below. That really helps my readings and my practice to hear how it pertains to your life. And don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Gemini risings and suns. This Cancer new moon is happening in your 2nd house. So you guys are coming into a place where you're going to achieve more emotional confidence, as well as the ability to feel like you are worthy, that you are financially free, that you have the kind of things around you that you really want. Maybe you have some kind of new beginning when it comes to purchasing something in your life, or the way that you manage your money, and again, self-esteem. But this is coming at the not at the expense, but at the need to face your own fears and insecurities with this new moon opposite Pluto in the 8th house. Ultimately, you have to be emotionally empowered to feel confident, secure, worthy, by facing all the reasons why you feel like inside maybe you don't feel that way. The parts of yourself that has felt like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm insecure because of this past thing that's happened to me. The 8th house is where we store a lot of our fears and our traumas from all of the things in childhood, and maybe even before in past lives, if you believe in that. And it's really where we have kind of these nightmares come to life. And so all of the worst fears that we have about ourselves as people are stored there. And when the moon is opposite this, it's like, we want you to be confident. We want you to feel good about who you are, but you can't believe this about yourself anymore. And so I pulled the 6 of Swords, which is a rite of passage, but it's also about releasing baggage. So you are going through this rite of passage to step up more in your financial future and your confidence, but you can't have that without facing the shadows, without facing what's on the inside. And this new moon is going to help you do that with gumption. Another thing about this new moon that's very important is that both Pluto and the moon are making a square to the nodes, which are in Taurus and Scorpio, for the final time. They are going to transition to Aries and Libra on the same day. But we get one last important square here, which is really trying to help you with the square to the North Node in Taurus. Create some kind of new foundation for yourself that is a lot more stable, that has less self-sabotaging energy to it, that has less self-undoing, that has less mental or physical illness that gets in the way, that has less of the past creeping up on you and creating lots of fears that are in the subconscious mind that lead you to certain behaviors that contribute to self-undoing. It's like, how can we finally commit to letting the past stay in the past, releasing our pain, releasing our resentments, releasing our anger, whatever is in there, and truly just let that be, so that we can feel a lot more stable, so that we can have less psychic inner conflict within ourselves, and truly be able to want something and pursue it without all these other contradicting forces internally. And that's what I see with this death card in reverse. I think many of us have resisted a change that we are now needing to purge out of us. And this square to the nodes is helping us quite literally. Maybe we could have some purging, or maybe it's more emotional or psychic or energetic that we are having this purging, but it's truly allowing us to have a death and a rebirth with this back card. Like, I am really and truly facing my fears and letting my old self die off and being reborn, less attached to the past, with new eyes, less jaded, less fearful, and feeling just more stable inside of myself as a person, so that I can create more externally in the world. But we have to have that internal sense of stability and comfort in order to feel like, okay, yeah, I know how to create what I want in life. And I also pulled the Five of Swords in reverse, which is about reconciliation, making amends, and past resentment. So any kind of relationships also that have some energy within them that needs to be resolved, this card is really saying that it's time to do so. It's time to release any issues that you have with people that are ultimately holding you back and taking up space in your brain. Because if there's something that is within you, it's just not worth it. Basically, it's just not worth it. Even if it's not with a specific person, it doesn't have to be, but it feels like there's some issues from the past that it's time to leave in the past, and move towards a more stable foundation future. And this could also be with family. So reconciling, how people may have hurt you growing up. That's very much a part of this, and how they contributed to your lack of inner stability. And it's like truly letting that go to rest. We have Mercury, your planetary ruler, in Leo in your third house, squaring Jupiter in the 12th. And this is going to help you see beyond your current reality in many ways. Mercury in the third house is very much focused on the here and now, but the square to Jupiter is going to give it the potential to expand its horizons, to see the spiritual realm, to see its connection to the past, its influence by forces that you can't see and recognize. And I think that this is going to help you digest some of the experiences that you're going through. There's also something here around needing to release our sometimes like obsessions or focus of the same thoughts over and over again. And the square with the 12th house is really trying to help you recognize where you could be stuck in loops or patterns of thought that are not serving you, and almost trying to help you, again, cut from that past and create new thoughts and new stories about things that are going to serve you a lot better. We're all going through Mars opposite Saturn during this new moon transit. And Mars opposite Saturn is not that fun because it does create some disappointments and delays in achieving our goals. For you with Mars in the 4th house, there's something around your home, your family, that you are wanting to create more organization in, more routine in, more discipline in. Maybe there's something that you just want to accomplish within the home, but it's almost like, or even just your emotions or your relationship with your family, and you want to do something to kind of get control over it. But with the opposition with Saturn and the 10th, there are outside forces that are causing delays with that. Maybe there are things with your job that are pulling you away from the ability to take care of these relationships or your home. Maybe there are just things happening out in the world or just in your life in general that are creating some frustrations. Maybe there are certain career and life goal expectations or societal governmental duties that can get in the way, judgments from others. There's so many things that it could be, but it can lead to this feeling of having a little bit of a roadblock. Ultimately, though, this Mars is going to be alleviated. It's just a temporary feeling before we can get kind of back on our feet and realize that we are doing just fine, and use this time more so to do some internal work rather than trying to force things within the home. I also pulled this desire card. So I feel like a lot of what you desire is going to become very clear for you once you start removing some of your fears. Because sometimes our fears can feel like they're desires, but really they're just us trying to avoid a negative feeling. And this desire card, I think, is really trying to say that you're going to connect more with what you want and what really matters to you in life once you are able to fully release these issues from the past. So that's what I'm saying for you, Gemini. If that resonates with you, I would love for a thumbs up and especially a comment down below. I like to read your comments to see how it pertains to your life, and that helps me and everyone else. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, and have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Cancer, Rising, and Sun. For you, this new moon is happening in your first house, which is, of course, a really big deal, and is basically going to give you some kind of emotional reset where you guys are going to feel more empowered in yourselves to achieve some of this lasting success in some area of your life, or kind of some sustainable outcome in some area of your life. However, in order to achieve that kind of emotional resilience, and I hope you watch the overview because this will make a lot more sense, but in order to achieve that, we are receiving some pushback. For you, this is really coming into the area of relationships where you may need to kind of confront the way that you've been operating in relationships with other people, the kinds of relationships that you have, the kind of agreements that you've done, and people that you may even decide to work with or partner with in some capacity, or even legal matters. All of those things are what need to be confronted again for you to become more empowered within yourself emotionally, mentally, physically, to start a new chapter in your life, to create more sustainable joy. And in order to do this, the new moon and Pluto are both squaring the nodes, and the nodes in Taurus and Scorpio are here for the very last time, and they're actually switching to Aries and Libra on the same day, on the 17th. And this new moon is the last time they're being aspected. So it's our chance and fate and destiny to help us actually become more able to achieve some of the things that we want. And for you, that's in the 11th house. So for you, you are meant to be finding some type of sense of belonging and community. And the way that you've been going about that, the way that you've been in relationships hasn't been working. And there's a need to create a different way of creating connection and belonging and community. And that is going to require some emotional alignment within yourself, or emotional workings within the self. And I really see that with this 8 of Pentacles and then 6 of Cups in reverse. I feel like you guys ultimately are going to be working on forgiveness, recovering from past pains, ways in which you have been out of touch with your childlike self, your playfulness, your softness. Any of that is going to be things that you need to work on right now to become a little bit more like emotionally open to new connections. And again, I feel like the way that you have been going about relationships needs some adjustments. And sometimes we need to empower ourselves to make different choices, to realize we have the potential within us to choose different people, have different emotional reactions, let go of the past, and that we're not victim or succumbing to our circumstances in this regard. So you guys are really meant to create this feeling of finally having stable connections and community. And ultimately, I feel like it's going to lead you to some new opportunities with the 6 of Wands and the Ace of Pentacles, which are about new financial or career opportunities. I really feel like that's possible for you guys through these connections that you're going to be making. So not only does this bring importance for you to feel like you belong somewhere, or you're a part of something, or you have a community, but it's also aiding you in your future development, in being witnessed for how much work you've done, or for some skills that you have, and feeling like you're really seen for who you are and valued for who you are, but also given some actual financial opportunities because of those things. And this is because you have Mercury in the second house scoring Jupiter in the 11th. So it's actually through these connections that you can start to have ideas or connections of some sort that tie you into opportunities that can be financially fruitful for you. Sometimes those might be elements of your life that are also incompatible, though. So it's important for you to ask yourself if there are ways in which your relationships have held you back in the past from achieving your kind of financial successes that you've wanted, or the people that you associate with, the friends that you have, the goals that you have they actually inhibited you in the past? And maybe there could have been a need overall to just develop more self-confidence and self-love and self-care in order to actually start to manifest the right relationships and financial opportunities. You also have Mars in the 3rd house, opposite Saturn in the 9th. So ultimately, I feel like what you guys are trying to do is change your mindset. And with this Bear card, you really are starting something new. I feel like you're coming out of a haze or a fog, or a period of maybe feeling downtrodden or more internal. And you're coming into a cycle of being really like just the snow melting, and you're taking chances, and you're putting yourself out there, and you're healing, and you're growing, and you're connecting, and you're maybe acting on some of these financial opportunities. And it's like you're finally starting to grow a little bit in this solar energy, instead of being in a state of maybe rest or recuperation. And so I feel like you guys are going into a phase of maybe being more social, being more busy, talking to more people, having more ideas and conversations. But with Saturn in the 9th, we can sometimes have still blockages of fears of what we feel like is possible or isn't possible, pre-existing beliefs that we have, our way of already kind of moving through and viewing society. With Saturn there, it's like it can impose this delay around our own ability to create new connections and, again, new ideas and conversations. Saturn here can also create delays around like paperwork, especially if it has to deal with things that are in regards to 3rd or 9th house topics, like getting a car, or taking a trip, or moving abroad, or going to school, like things like that can create quite literal delays in some of those processes. So just kind of keep that in mind. This is not to say that you're not supposed to do those things, but it's just going to maybe have some sort of hiccups along the way. Ultimately, though, this is trying to build your mental resilience and the thought patterns in the way that you want them to be. It's trying to help you to get all of yourself on board for your emotional readiness to connect with people in the way that you're meant to connect with, and find your kind of tribe. I also pulled this ritual card, which to me really gives the energy of, first of all, it has Leo on here. So I think Mercury, Leo in your 2nd house is going to be drawing your attention. And then obviously Venus retrograde in Leo in your 2nd house also is going to be significant with that. So I think considering a lot of how you've spent money, or what you've valued and prioritized in your relationships with people, or in your relationship with yourself and your own self-esteem and self-worth, those things are going to become more of a question over these next few weeks. And I feel like this ritual card is telling you to have some kind of self-care tactics, so that you have a consistent routine that will actually help you tap back into your own feeling of being worthy and confident and stable inside of yourself, so that when you kind of venture out and you start to make new friends or associations, you feel really strong within yourself and very emotionally aligned, so that you can open up to these new beginnings that are here for you. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Cancer. I hope that resonates. If it does resonate, I'd love to know down below. Please leave your comments. They mean a lot to me to be able to see those. And don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a great day. Bye. All right, next we have Leo rising and sun. For you guys, this Cancer new moon is happening in your 12th house. So for you, your new emotional beginning is going to help you release fears and surrender to what is happening in your life that might feel like it's outside of your control or has a bigger spiritual purpose or is ultimately moving you into some destined path that you might not even be able to fully see. And at times that can instigate some fear. And I definitely feel like that is possible for you guys because I pulled this mouse card, which can be very honed in and focused on lots of details with the mouse here. It can only see what's right in front of it with the tiny little eyes. Mercury is also passing through your first house right now, which is getting you to look very closely at details of your life and your personality or your physical appearance or where you're headed next. And it's really having you look at each thing with a critical eye and ask, is this truly me? Is this truly what I desire? And it's just having you analyze these things of your life, consider possibilities, think about things. And sometimes with this mouse card, we can get super zoomed in and we can feel the pressure of not knowing the way out. But luckily for you, with the square to Jupiter in the 10th, it is going to help you connect more towards a larger vision and purpose and hope in your life. And I definitely see that with this hope card as well. So I feel like you're going to go in and out of these states of being zoomed in and zoomed out, where you're focusing on little things and having a critical eye in some capacities, and then zooming out to the larger path and where you're going with this. And so ultimately, while you do have this capacity for vision, I think a lot of what's happening for you right now is very, very destined, and you may even have new beginnings in your life that wrap up with endings. So again, I feel like I'm really getting the vision of like coming out of a tunnel where you can't really see very much, but you see there's light there and you see what is relatively ahead to some degree. And it's like you're not totally clear on what's next, but you know the universe is pushing you in a specific direction. And sometimes there is also, again, some endings in that need to leave behind the tunnel to enter out the other side and to come into this new life. So this new beginning for you is really about trusting the divine process of destiny unfolding for you. It's not so much about, and maybe something ending along that way. It's not so much about having like a very clear path and following it and doing all the things. Which can feel scary because this new moon is opposite Pluto in the 6th. So there's a lot within our life that we try to control and a lot in our life that we try to work on and do. And, there are some things in life that we don't have control over that are more spiritual, more divine. And that is something that I think you're coming to terms with. How can I feel empowered emotionally, even in situations where I don't have full say or full control in some things in my life? And really learning the kind of emotional resilience that we need for this new path to emerge is important, because you are going to have many faded moments occur within your life path and your career. And this particular new moon is important for that because it's our last chance to have the North and South node activated in the signs of Taurus and Scorpio, because on this day, it's actually changing signs into Aries and Libra. So this new moon and Pluto, which are again opposite each other, are both squaring the nodes at 0 degrees. So wherever we have 0 degrees of Taurus, which is in your 10th house, is where you are meant to find more stability in your life and more sustainability, something that you really enjoy, that you can retain long term. But you're meant to go about that differently. You're meant to make a change to how you create sustainability within your life objectives and career. So there's something about your career life or where you're headed in life that is either not in alignment or is not sustainable for you. And so this Cancer new moon may have you end something or may put you through some faded situations in your life where you don't really have control, that is ultimately trying to help you go through a spiritual internal journey to become much more connected to yourself on an intuitive level, to know what decisions to make in your career next, and to know where this is trying to spit you out at, where this is trying to take you on your life path. And so this is a very, very fated period of time where your life path is definitely having some manipulation with the universe being like, no, you're going to go this way, and it's kind of like redirecting you. And that can sometimes trigger things. And I think that is going to be something that you come in and out of, where you're being overly worried about details and then in the high vision and hope, and you're kind of going back and forth to some extent. I also think that with Mars in the second house and Saturn in the eighth house, we're trying to pursue money, and we're trying to pursue this feeling of being emotionally stable and financially stable and confident in our own worthiness and feeling autonomous and independent and feeling like we can take care of ourselves. But with Saturn opposite it in the eighth house, it's going to bring about situations that actually trigger those insecurities. It could be random debt falling into your lap, or financial experiences that challenge you to some extent, or things that bring about your own fears and weaknesses in relationships or vulnerabilities. And that can kind of put a halt to that feeling of really being able to pursue your money and your confidence. But it's important for you to do it, to keep pursuing it anyway, and become determined. And again, strong within yourself, that even if the universe and God is kind of reorienting your path and having some fated moments occur for you, that doesn't mean that it's trying to take away your confidence or your money. Ultimately, those little diversions are leading you to more financial stability and money made in a way that actually aligns more with your purpose and with your gifts, especially because Venus is going retrograde in your sign. It's your opportunity to really sit and ask yourself, am I using all my gifts in the right way? And if I'm not, like, how am I supposed to be making adjustments? And this new moon is very much a time of adjustment so that we can align best with our fate and become emotionally resilient for the paths ahead in order to achieve those things that are fated for us. I also pulled this Cobra card, and there may be a potential for you to work with a spiritual teacher or a teacher in general, but the Cobra card is really about us also pausing and waiting and being our own spiritual teacher. So there's a time of reflection needed here, not to act and move too quickly. It is, again, approaching a Venus retrograde until September 3rd. So it's really not the time to try to get everything into motion, but to do our internal journey, our existential questions. And once we come out the other side in September, that's when it's really our time to start moving and walking our talk. And maybe a teacher can help you with those new things ahead. So if you're trying to pursue something a little differently or pursue an entirely new path, then somebody else might be able to help facilitate that. I also pulled the Hierophant, which is about spiritual wisdom. And then I pulled the Two of Swords, which is about, again, not really seeing your path or having difficult decisions, weighing your options and feeling like you don't really necessarily know which way to go, which I feel like describes exactly the energy of what I'm talking about. We're in a spiritual cocoon in the 12th house where you're having lots of questions and not a lot of answers, and you have big questions that you're asking yourself, but try to not feel like you need to figure it all out until this Venus retrograde is done. If you can postpone things, if you can delay big decisions, do it until after September 3rd. The last card I have is King of Cups in reverse. So this could mean that you might be going through periods of really being in your own feelings, having more intense emotions, and the need to have a lot more compassion and love for yourself throughout this process of self-discovery. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Leo, rising and sun. If this resonates with you, I would love to hear down in the comments below how it pertains to your life. That helps my practice. I think that helps everybody in their understanding of astrology, and it just means a lot to me as well to feel like I can connect to who is on the other side of that screen. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a great day. And thanks so much for watching. Bye. All right, up next we have Virgo, rising and sun. So for you guys, this new moon in Capricorn is happening in your 11th house. And for all of us, this is building some emotional depth and resiliency and alignment in wherever area of life we have Cancer. For you, this is in your community and your friendship sector, your relationships in general. So if you have felt like you are wanting a new leaf in relationships, if you're wanting to have more alignment here in this area of your life, this new moon is indicating the potential for this to unfold right now. And it's so weird because I just recorded this and I just had a coughing fit and this weird dry feeling in my throat, and no one else I had an issue with. So there might be something where you feel like there might be something with the throat chakra, or maybe something that hasn't been fully expressed or even fully realized that may be causing me to also have this reaction. So just if there's anything that comes to mind when I say that, just maybe consider that as a part of this new moon message. So this new moon is opposite Pluto in the 5th house. And Pluto in the 5th house is where we are very proud of ourselves and we are very authentic to ourselves. We honor our gifts and we put ourselves out there to be seen and to be honored. And with Pluto here in particular, we can oftentimes have fear around that. So I'm scared of putting myself out there. I'm scared of honoring my gifts. I'm scared of trying to be visible, or, you know, whatever comes along with the fear there, like where that fear is actually coming from is going to be different for everyone. But there's something in that nature that is actually opposing the moon in the 11th house and challenging us to overcome in order to create these new relationships in our lives that are more emotionally aligned with who we're meant to be, and that maybe help us step outside of our comfort zone. So it's like a new community or networking that we're meant to be doing, but there's parts of us that are scared of taking up that spotlight or showing again our natural talents and gifts that can feel really daunting. And so it's up to us to confront some of those fears and anxieties with this 9 of Swords and not focus on the lack mentality here. I feel like this could bring up, you know, the scarcity mindset. It could bring up what is bad about the situation. And it's really important for us to not focus too much on that, because there may be things in life that challenge us right now, especially with Mars opposite Saturn, which I'll get to in a second. But I feel like we're really meant to focus on the potential. And so the more that we kind of allow ourselves to get bogged down in our fears, our insecurities, or our lack, the more crippled we can become. And right now it's really trying to get us to focus on the fertility here, the potential of what's trying to come out of difficult situations, because everything at this new moon is very, very fated and destined. And so if things are even going wrong right now, it's okay, because there are elements of that that's important to your life and your success. And I do think that this is going to be a fortuitous time for many of us, but there is definitely some things that we're having to face and overcome. The nodes, what's really important here is that the new moon and Pluto are both squaring the nodes in the Scorpio and Taurus axis. And this is the last day that we're going to have the North Node be in Taurus, and it's actually going to change signs today. So having the square to the North Node in Taurus in the 9th house is really challenging you to create a new vision for success, a new connection to your own intuition and higher power, as well as new beliefs about yourself and life that will help get you to where you need to go. So it's really a reframing of the mind and the way that we view our connection to the world and, again, how we intend to grow. And so that is where we're meant to have or create better and more sustainable views of ourself in life. And in order to do that, we have to change our approach to our meaning-making system. And this is going to be helped by Mercury making a square to Jupiter. Mercury is in the 12th house for you, squaring Jupiter in the 9th. This is going to help you question and challenge your existing belief systems, to rewrite some of these things and look at things through new lenses and new eyes. So instead of seeing something as a failure, it's what is this teaching me and how is this getting me further to my goals? How is life more of an experiment? How to look at the glass half full, how to make, again, meaning out of things in a way that is much more beneficial to our belief system and our schema through viewing the world, so that it can help us move forward in life rather than making meaning in a way that is going to set us back. And this is also true for our emotions as well with this whale card. This whale card says, desire to delve deeper, profound peace and ancient wisdom. So Whale personalities are not afraid of emotional expression or traversing difficult terrain, as they have overcome many challenges in their lives. These experiences have enriched them, given them stability, strength, and depth that is rare. Whale energy is linked to feminine forces of compassion and communication. We can depend on whale personalities when all else seems lost, and trust them to be a beacon in our darkest hour. Calm, steady, and deeply compassionate people. So if it's out of balance, it slips into an old story. And this is exactly what I was saying, is we're using these difficult experiences and we feel stronger as a result of them. We feel like our muscles are growing with the weight of the pressure of what's happening. And so we're not diving into old stories, but instead we're processing things in the moment, and we're not using as weapons against them. We're instead utilizing them to see things with more truth and clarity, and create beliefs that are, again, more supportive of what we want and where we're going, rather than seeing things in life that might feel harder, might feel difficult, might feel like a failure, as beliefs that work against us. So we're overriding that. We're seeing things with a lot more like of a critical nature, quizzical. I don't know what word I was trying to say there, but with this King of Swords, it's like I see things very, very clearly. I'm looking at it through a logical lens instead of getting caught in this very kind of like emotional realm of like, oh, I feel bad for myself because of blah, 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 blah. It's really looking at the logic of like, okay, this relationship didn't work out, or maybe I don't get along with this friend group. I maybe have to find a new one. How do we just go out and do that? And just very plainly take some of the emotional disturbance out of that and pursue what is that we really, really need, without getting caught in stories of like, I'm not loved, and this is always difficult, blah, 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 and making it more matter of fact, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I think it's ultimately, with the Page of Cups in reverse, it's helping us with matters of emotional regulation. If there's been immaturity, especially within relationships with this Lovers card, it's really helping to kind of override any emotional immaturity within relationships. And that is definitely something that we're going to see with Mars in our first house in Virgo, opposite Saturn the 7th. There are things that we're going to try to take action on our lives, and anger that we're going to express, or things that we're going to assert, and confidence that we're trying to build. And with Saturn the 7th, we could have kind of challenging dynamics come up in relationships that might feel like it butts heads with us a little bit, or other people in our life might be going through difficult things, and that affects us ultimately. But all of these things are here to help us become wiser, more emotionally aware, less triggered, less moody. Again, also trying to find beliefs around what we're going through that makes sense for more positive creations in our lives and more positive relationships in our lives, and really leave behind old kind of triggering stories that get you caught up in those same emotions that you're ready to overcome. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Virgo rising. It's a time for having a new emotional beginning in your dynamics with others. And I think this new moon is going to help you do that in a fated way, to reconstruct reality in the way that you need to support you on that path. So if this resonates with you, I'd love to hear that down in the comments below. And yeah, I hope that you share this with your friends. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Libra rising and sun. So for you guys, this Cancer new moon is happening in your 10th house of career and just general life goals and objectives. So wherever we're having this new moon is going to bring us to some emotional stability and resilience to pursue something that is more in line with our intuition in terms of our goals. And it could be also bringing in the area of family and relationships and emotions into our goals in our career for us to consider those elements a little bit more clearly. What's interesting about this new moon is that it is a very fated period of time, because we're having this new moon make a square to the nodes, and they are at 0 degrees of Taurus and Scorpio and about to switch signs right after the new moon. And so a square to the nodes is indicating that wherever the north node is, we're meant to be creating a lot more stability in our lives, and we're going to have to go about that differently. So for you, the north node is in Taurus in the 8th house, and there's something about this where you are meant to have some kind of rebirth experience. The eighth house is where we can hold on and store quite a bit of emotions, but it's also where we can go through a process of death and rebirth. And there's something around often either very practical matters like debt and issues with shared resources and taxes and things of that nature, or it could be more emotional, and it's sort of the area of life where we might hold a little bit of fear, insecurity, or trauma. And either way, this particular area of your life is meant to become a lot more stable. So maybe less driven by fear, or having your financial issues under control if you have any, and really feeling like you have a sustainable future in this area of your life. But in order to do that, you need to change some of your behaviors and habits to make that possible. And we've been trying to do that for the last year and a half. And some of your career foundations and your career moves are also needing to kind of adjust to fit this fate that is coming through in the eighth house. So what's an example of this? Let's say that there have been certain fears kind of driving you in a direction in your life, or things that are the undercurrent of why you do or don't do something. It's having those things be addressed and kind of go about them differently, addressing them differently, that will ultimately lead you towards maybe new goals, because you start to realize that actually you were driven by something that might have been more so fear than reality. But what I'm seeing a lot here in your cards is quite a bit of energy of being very much in a feeling of aimlessness or confusion, feeling like you have lots of choices. And I don't know, it's just, I'm getting like a very clear depiction from your cards that right now in this new moon state, you are very much like in the dark about what's next for you. And a new moon is really trying to gain clarity about what that is. Like, what is the next step? How am I going to move forward in my career and in my life? But for some reason, all these cards are very much like weighing your options and feeling like you're going through the darkness and trying to understand what's next for you through a more intuitive lens and feeling, because you can't actually see. It's like it feels like it's a hazy transition right now, or you're trying to make a choice around your life, but you're not exactly sure what to do. And again, I feel like there's something around the square to the nodes and also the opposition with Pluto in the fourth house that's having you really go into your emotional center and your past to address those things and become very stable and clear in that area of your life. And then it will actually clear up where you want to go next. And as I mentioned, this new moon is opposite Pluto in the fourth. So there could be some stuff from family that needs to be cleared up, or your own emotions and fears around settling down or having a family or buying a house, or even if just emotions from our past or anything that we may have carried over with us that is affecting the way that we move forward in life. So I'm really seeing you guys here again, being stuck in a haze in some capacity as you transition and towards a new beginning. But what gets you out of that is using your intuition, using your feelings, your emotions, and looking towards the things that are underlying why you've made certain choices, or underlying why certain things happen in your life. It seems like there's a deeper questioning that can happen with the North Node in the eighth and Pluto in the fourth. That's like getting to the unconscious element of it, or the undercurrent of something. Like I mentioned before, maybe I moved towards that career because I had this fear, or maybe I didn't take this action because of that fear, or maybe it was somehow linked to my family, or maybe I have, a certain comfort zone that I haven't taken this step in my life to go break out of that comfort zone because of these things inside of me. And I think that you guys are kind of facing those, and you're starting to, I think it's going to help you navigate all of your options. Because again, I feel like you just have a lot of options, which is leading to that feeling of haziness. So ultimately, navigating your emotions and your connection to these things will help you get clarity on which option to take. I also pulled this energy card, which talks about rapid progress. anchored to your true purpose and the direction that you're taking. It indicates that anything is possible, although you need to get your willpower working hard. There will be challenges that you can overcome, and someone may need extra support. So it's definitely talking about your purpose and having progress more towards your purpose. So as this energy clears up and becomes more defined for you, I think you'll start to notice that things also escalate a lot faster as well. I will say, though, I think that this Venus retrograde period, which Venus is your ruling planet, and it's about to go retrograde for 6 weeks. I think this period of time is a lot about this kind of lunar energy of going within and asking yourself what you value, what you prioritize, what you need in relationships, what you want in your career next, why you have just lots of options, and how you feel about these different options, why you have or haven't acted on certain things, the emotional undercurrents and drives for all of those actions and reactions. And I know this is probably like a little esoteric, but I feel like the message is a little hazy because the cards and the actual energy is quite hazy around this. But ultimately, I think you're going to come to redefine yourself very differently, and your place in this world, and where you want to go, and who you want to be, and your public image and your career status. I feel like you're coming into a new definition of that after this Venus retrograde. And so this period of this new moon is really kind of starting to bring those things up to the surface, those questions, so that you can get more answers. You also have Mercury in Leo in the 11th house squaring Jupiter in the 8th. So I think that your friendships and your community can help you answer some of these questions, but they also might provide some challenge. So the way that you defined yourself by being friends with certain people, or by being interested in certain hobbies, or hang out in certain communities, that might challenge the way that you used to feel about things. And you might start to question just different areas of your life, because you're reconceptualizing yourself. So you might not feel like, you might even notice the insecurities or breakdowns, not even just in yourself, but in the way that you fit into society as well. So it goes on a larger scale. And I hope that this is making sense, because I feel like I'm talking today, I'm like, I know that there's a message here, but dear Lord. We also have Mars in the 12th house opposite Saturn in the 6th. So that's probably why I feel like this is so hazy, because Mars in Virgo in the 12th is really, it kind of is a little bit, Mars is where we take action and where we have a lot of energy and motivation. But in the 12th, it really deflates, and it becomes very much like, Harry Potter walking through the forest at night, where it's just totally like hazy, and you're not able to see a single thing through the fog, and it feels scary, and you're like, what's next? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. Mars in the 12th can kind of feel like that. And then but it's very driven by intuition and senses and feelings and things that are very energetic or underneath the surface. It's driven by that to move towards that, even dreams, synchronicities, fated events. It's driven in its action by those forces, rather than our normal conviction of like, this is who I am, and this is what I want, and this is where I'm going. It becomes a lot more internal and feminine and dark. Not dark in a bad way, but like dark as in not visible. And then with Saturn opposite that Mars in the 6th house, Saturn does kind of want to have more control in the situation, and it wants to have like a schedule, and it wants to have a routine, and it wants to be productive, and wants to get things done. And when it's opposing Mars, Mars is like, bitch, I'm like walking through this forest and I can't even see right now. How am I supposed to be productive when I don't even know where I'm going? How am I supposed to get there quickly and meet all these deadlines when I am not even energized and I'm having this psychedelic dream experience right now? So there's something about your energy that is very much going on this very kind of like Alice in Wonderland internal journey, and you're going to pop out the other side in September, honestly, like such a different person. And so I'm so curious what this new moon is going to kind of kick off for you. But it is very fated again, because the moon is squaring the nodes, and it's taking you on this internal journey. And some of you might do psychedelics, or might go on a trip, or might start something new at work that takes you into these darker recesses of yourself to ask some of these more existential questions. And I think it's going to be leading you into a powerful new beginning in terms of what you want to define yourself as out in the world in the future. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Libra. I hope that resonates. I hope that even makes sense for you. If this energy is something that you're feeling already, I'd love to hear about that in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and share with your friends, and have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Scorpio, rising, and sun. So for you guys, this Cancer new moon is happening in your 9th house. And I feel like you guys are going to be coming into a place of more optimism. Wherever this Cancer new moon is happening is helping us create emotional resilience, emotional stability, and commitment to that area of our life. And for you, this is happening again in your 9th house. So there's something within you that's changing that is able to grow past your existing limits, that's able to create new beliefs and paradigms in your life that are going to help you shift as a person and start almost like a new chapter for yourself, emotionally especially. And this is a big and fated new moon because it is opposite Pluto and squaring, and Pluto and the moon are squaring the nodes. So with this moon opposite Pluto, we're going to have the element of fear come up in our everyday lives. And it's going to challenge us in our mindset specifically. So maybe you have scary thoughts or random tasks that you have to complete that kind of throw you off, or just, feels like maybe it adds some level of anxiety. And you're trying to create almost like an emotional reset in your life in the way that you also are able to keep growing. It's like you're expanding your existing emotional horizons. Maybe you are letting go of past feelings. Maybe you are trying to create new types of thoughts in your everyday world. And Pluto in the 3rd can bring up some stuff from the past, or it could bring up like common everyday stressors or common thoughts that you have, so that those can be released into the void. But both Pluto and this new moon are squaring the nodes, which are in your 7th and 1st house axis. The North node is in your 7th. So ultimately what you're meant to be doing is creating more relationship stability. So this emotional growth is trying to lead you to eventually more relationship stability and better connections with others. But in order to do that, you have to go about your relationships differently. And the way that you've tried to create stability there isn't going to work. So we have to kind of fine tune and really get clear on what does work for you as we approach a new cycle. Because we've been spending the last year and a half with the nodes in Taurus and Scorpio. And today at this new moon, it's the very last moment where these nodes are being activated. And then they're going to switch into Aries and Libra on the same day. So you're really getting that last push from the universe to overcome some old emotional habits within relationships. And again, create a lot more inner stability for yourself so that you can overcome obstacles without maybe so much kind of tumultuousness and worry and thoughts that can come along with that. So it's creating just a better internal world, internal landscape when it comes to relationships in your life. And I saw the 3 of Swords with the 4 of Wands. So the 3 of Swords is really about our past heartbreaks, and this 4 of Wands is really where we are transitioning and celebrating even how far we've come from those original heartbreaks. So maybe there are emotional pains or issues or things that we have within us that you are recognizing that you've overcome to some degree, and this is a time for you to cement those changes and even go a little bit further with the square to the nodes and recognize, how do I want to be in relationships now? Like, how do I want to handle myself differently or handle my emotions differently, so to ensure that I have the best possible relationships with others? So you're really coming into a state of transition with how you show up. And I think you're going to notice that affects a lot of areas of your life, not just relationships. I also pulled the 9 of Wands. So I think many of you guys are going to maybe have a phase right now where you're coming into the ability to test yourself with this new growth. So having some kind of, especially with this Buffalo card, some kind of storm or some kind of emotional, like, upset or something that happens in your dynamics with others, or there could just be anything that brings up feelings, and you can see how you handle it differently than you did in the past. And you have more courage, more resilience, more toughness, because of the way that you've not only like learned and have grown, but also because of the newfound self-awareness and tools that you've developed through this growth process. It's like putting that to the test and actually seeing it play out for yourself. I also see you have Mercury and Leo in the 10th, squaring Jupiter in the 7th. So there can be some elements here of relationships and your life direction not always like coming together. So maybe you have a partner, but you want to, move somewhere or start a new job, or, that's a kind of a big life example. It could be really small. And maybe your partner doesn't agree with that or doesn't understand that. Or maybe you have a responsibility or connection to someone important in your life, and you want to move on and make certain changes in the way that you move through life, but you're concerned about how it would affect that person. So those are the ways that these energies are interacting with each other, but they ultimately do give us a lot of a bigger perspective of how things could be and how we can come up with creative solutions to still honor our relationships and honor our life path and direction. All of us are going through a little bit of a frustrating period right now as well, because we have Mars opposite Saturn, and Mars is in Virgo in your 11th house. So you guys are being very driven right now to go find your sense of belonging and community. You are meant to be getting clear on where your long-term vision is trying to take you. What are your goals and aspirations? Who do you want to surround yourself with on the path to get there? And with Saturn opposite it in the 5th house, there just may be some things in your life that ultimately come up as blockages. And because it's in the 5th, it might feel like things that zap your joy, like maybe responsibilities or like negative realizations or pessimism, or there could be the reality of, consequences of things that pop up more immediately. It could be so many things, because the 5th house is also related to dating and to children and our own creativity and our passions and things that you want to dedicate yourself to. But there's something about those areas of our life that are not necessarily conducive to the pursuit of creating that sense of belonging right now. So if you're feeling like, okay, I want to like meet people and I want to really create friendships and I want to have clear aspirations and goals, and you don't have that, it's okay, because this transit is going to pass and it's just a temporary little blockage for us to, again, test our faith and have more emotional resilience when it comes to our connection with others. You guys also have the 5 of Swords and the Magician, and this is about reconciling past issues. And the Magician is really, I think, in many ways going to show you that you're going to have more energy then to manifest things that you really want. So I think another way to interpret this Mars-Saturn opposition is that there could be some undercurrents of emotions or issues from the past in relationships that need to be let go of or resolved or amended. And that will free up more energy for you to manifest more aligned relationships in your life. I also pulled the leadership, attraction, abundance, and agreement card. So some of you guys could be coming into a phase of signing a contract. Maybe you're attracting more abundance, showing up as more of a leader in your community, which is very typical for Mars in the 11th house. So there's a lot of other things that could be coming in, but I feel like you guys are becoming very resilient and you are honing in on how your relationships affect you and how you show up. And I think that you're going to notice how much you've changed. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Scorpio rising. If that resonates, please let me know in the comments down below. I always love to read your comments. It means a lot to also be able to see that and see who's on the other side of the screen, connect it to my practice, and be able to learn more. So I hope that you do that. Please don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Sagittarius rising and sun. For you guys, this Cancer new moon is happening in your 8th house, which is giving you more emotional stability and resilience in the most sensitive area of our chart, where we tend to feel the most unstable emotionally, where we tend to feel the most insecure or fearful. And this is also giving you guys the potential to have some kind of new emotional start when it comes to worth and finances as well, because the eighth house is where we take out like a loan and things of that nature. And it's opposite Pluto in the second house, which is also related to finances. So there's a strong theme here about finances and worth and our own physical security in life. And with the opposition with Pluto in the second, there can be sometimes fears that come up around money, worth, or things that we own and our own confidence. And right now, I think that you guys are actually having something really beautiful come to you. But I think sometimes in that process, we can get uncomfortable and impatient, and we can start to have lots of fears come up. So this new moon in the eighth is trying to create more emotional resilience to be able to move through a transition in your life where you're about to get something nice. And sometimes it's going to take a little bit longer than you think it is. And so we need that resilience to hold us through so that we don't start kind of like imagining that it's not coming, or having worst case scenarios, or doubting ourselves, or doubting if we're worthy, or doubting if it's really real. And so you guys might go through an experience like this around this new moon. This new moon is very fated because it is Pluto and the moon is squaring the north and south node. And this is the very last time we're getting an activation with the north node being in Taurus on a new moon like this. So it's a really big deal. And it's going to be, the north node is going to be squared in your sixth house. So there's something here where you're meant to create more stability in your everyday life and routine. So maybe it's your work that needs to stabilize. Maybe there's something around your responsibilities or even your health, or again, like I mentioned, your routine, your schedule that needs to have some changes to it to become more long-term sustainable. So the way that you've been going about it for the last year and a half has been trying to create a new routine for yourselves and new stability there. But this last new moon here is giving you the final push of let's actually commit to doing this in a different way, and let's fully see it through. And maybe there are some little other tweaks that we can adjust for this to be a more sustainable routine, work life, responsible life, or health routine. And I think also creating more emotional stability to persevere is very much linked to this, because it's, again, a new moon in the eighth house. And it's really about trying to help you transition in this phase of your life and be emotionally stable in that process. And one of the important ways that we create stability for ourselves is our routine, and is our work, and is our kind of daily mundane life. Like what we do in our day-to-day life affects our mental health and our ability to remain calm in the face of some turmoil, so much more. Like if you exercise and eat well and sleep and meditate, your emotional capacity is so much better. So I think that the universe is trying to get you to that place. One of the strongest messages that came through, first of all, is to trust the process. Trust that you're going to get to the other side of what you're looking for, and not to worry too much about the Pluto second house energy where you're worried about money. I think that's a thing that's going to be common for people, or worried about if you're worth it or how it's going to pan out, or if you can trust this. You can trust this. You can trust yourself. And I think the biggest message that was coming through, besides trusting this, is that there is a need for patience. I was getting a lot of cards that really, I mean, literally the word patience popped into my head when I saw the Temperance card. I got the Moth, which is about like impulsiveness and hastiness. So I think this is really trying to calm your energy down and help you create light in the darkness, because an eighth house new moon is quite dark, and you guys are going through a transition in your life right now where you're going through a little bit of an old death and a new beginning. And sometimes when we're in that liminal state of like, where are we? When is this going to work out? We can get, again, fearful and impatient and worried. And this light with the firefly is trying to say, bring positivity to the situation. Recognize that this is going to happen. Trust your own intuition that this is going to happen, and you won't need to feel so much fear. We also have this Vulture card, which is able to create balance in a situation and takes what seemingly looks like an old or dead thing and transforms it into something new and healthy and vital and strong for our lives. So there's also an element here around looking at what needs adjusting and trying to find that balance and trying to make the most out of what already exists in your life and transform things in the more positive sense. Take old things and maybe adjust them to make them more aligned with who you are, more uplifting and strengthening. So there's a lot of messages around trying to help you move through a period of transition in the best and healthiest way possible. I also pulled the Hierophant and Temperance cards, which is about following the aligned path, the traditional path, the conservative path, and being patient with it, having balance. So this is like taking one step at a time in the way that you're supposed to do that, not trying to reinvent the wheel, just following what you need to follow, the institutional way or the traditional way, and really trying to be balanced in your life and routine and patient in the perseverance of towards this goal. You guys also have Mercury and Leo in the 9th, squaring Jupiter in the 6th. So I think you guys could get ahead of yourselves with an energy like this, where you really just see yourself in this new life and you see what could be, and you see this vision for success and optimism and all the things that you can learn and grow and do. And, you know, there are certain things that with the 6th house as well that require your attention. So it's like, how do we merge the future with the current responsibilities? How do we have our kind of feet on the ground and have a plan and make sure that we're doing things the right way? You guys also have Mars in the 10th house opposite Saturn in the 4th. So all of us are experiencing a little bit of delay and frustration. For you, this is coming into the area of career and home and just like general life direction. So these are kind of competing elements of your life right now. Maybe your career and your home life are vying for your attention in different ways. Maybe you're having certain delays, you know, on construction within a home or on progress within your career with some area of your life. And it's trying to say, just be patient. Just be patient. Everything is going to be fine. Don't give up. Don't get disheartened. Just be patient. Everything is going to be fine. I said that twice, so it must be significant. I also pulled this Sun card and this 3 of Pentacles, and this is success, positivity, warmth, vitality, and collaboration and teamwork. So you guys really have a good energy right now for things to work out in your life. I really do feel like they're going to pull through for you. And the 3 of Pentacles is saying that you're going to be needing to rely on other people to achieve this level of success. We always need people. We need a village, even if that's just to talk to people about how we feel. But I really feel like you're going to be working together with somebody to achieve whatever you want. And there are lots of other players and things involved, which is why patience is really, really necessary right now. So I hope that resonates for you, Sagittarius. If it does, please let me know by commenting down below. I love to read your comments and see how it pertains to your life. That helps my practice. It also helps me connect with you on the other side of the screen. Don't forget to also like and subscribe and share with your friends, and have a great day. Thanks. Bye. All right, up next we have Capricorn, rising, and sun. For you guys, this Cancer new moon is happening in your 7th house of relationships. And I am interpreting this Cancer new moon as us really stepping outside of our comfort zone and finding new emotional resilience in whatever area we have Cancer, which for you is in your relationship sector. So you guys are finding new emotional resilience within your relationships. And again, stepping outside of out of an existing comfort zone there. And I really see this as a very fated new moon because we have not only this new moon opposite Pluto in your 1st house, but both Pluto and the moon are squaring the nodes. And I'm going to get into that in a second. So first of all, with Cancer new moon opposite Pluto in your 1st, there can be sometimes a need to reconstruct part of your identity in order for you to embody this newfound emotional resilience and leaving your comfort zone within relationships. And sometimes when we start to create a new life for ourselves, a new identity, we can have some fears come up, like existential fears or like old parts of the shadow self come up to the surface and they're like, wait, I don't want to be killed off. I don't want to be killed off. And you might just really start to see that in particular come up for yourself. So if you notice that you're really starting to branch out and move past that comfort zone, and maybe this will look different for everybody depending on how you are in relationships, but you're finding a new footing into a new life in your emotional relationships. And it's like some old triggers can come up, some old shadow selves, some old attachment styles can come up. And I really see that with this devil card and also with this raccoon card. I think for many of you, there can be, especially as a Capricorn rising, attachment styles and shadows around having it all together, being the one that never breaks down, being the support system. And it's just having so much like strength and resilience. And a Cancer new moon is much more raw and much more vulnerable and much more kind of like able to let people in on what's going on inside. And so that might come up a little bit as well, is like, is there a mask that comes up at times? Because that could be part of the shadow self. Maybe the shadow self is to detach or have that mask or have a distance to protect itself. So you might just notice that that can come up during this period of time. So as I mentioned, this Moon and Pluto are squaring the North and South node, which for the very last day is in Taurus and Scorpio. And right after this new moon, actually still today, it will move into the new signs. So it's at 0 degrees of Taurus, your North node in the 5th house. And it's trying to really open you up to this feeling of joy in your life, to the idea of like romancing your life, enjoying the things that you do for work, enjoying your relationships, enjoying your children, feeling like you are alive and living in your gifts and your natural talents, and doing that in a very sustainable way, doing that in a way that you haven't done before. And that's really what you've been working on for this last year and a half. And it's giving you this final push to be like, listen to your heart, listen to your joys, listen to your skills, listen to your gifts, and follow what feels good for you. Follow what feels like it brings you vitality and pleasure. And so that's really what this new moon is ultimately trying to get us to do, is follow those feelings in a way that's sustainable and different than we've tried to do before. And again, we've been trying this for the last year and a half, and it's like our push to completely enter into that new life and enter into that new way of being. And this definitely will pour into your relationships as well. I mean, these are very intricately woven parts of the chart. The 5th and the 7th house both are very relationship oriented houses. So the more that you are able to listen to your heart and yourself, the more authentic and beautiful new beginnings you can have in your connections with others. So that's ultimately what this is trying to do. But it can, of course, bring up other elements as well. I think one of the things that's coming up with Mercury in Leo in your 8th house squaring Jupiter in the 5th is a need to reconnect to our why, because Jupiter in the 5th, it also helps us seek those pleasures and joys and live more in the present moment and all those things that I was trying to discuss just a second ago. But with Mercury in the 8th, it wants depth, and it wants to see, it wants more than just, oh, I feel this, so I'm going for this. It's trying to add in a layer of meaning behind it, and even maybe some like spiritual esoteric meaning as well. So it's like, I'm doing this because I really connect with it on a soul level, and it's going to help people in this way, or, you know, this pursuing this joy is going to help me release this pain from my past, from my childhood, where I wasn't allowed to seek that joy for X, Y, and Z, or I had to grow up fast. So it's like adding a double layer of meaning instead of it being just something that you're doing for fun. It's like, why are you doing this for yourself? And so this Mercury, I can sometimes challenge that as well, and because it is a square, and it can sometimes question things a little too much. And so you might just need to find like a balance between these of the depth and the joys all together. You guys also have Mars and Virgo in your 9th house, opposite Saturn in your 3rd. So you are going through a phase of very much developing the mind with Saturn in the 3rd. You are going through a phase of becoming more astute. Maybe you are learning more about yourself. Maybe you are learning more in general. You could be in general just kind of like doing more things in your area that are helping you become a better teacher, a better speaker, a better writer, a better communicator. Even if this is simply in your relationships, it's like you're you're practicing things in your everyday life that ultimately will benefit the way that you talk to people and talk to yourself. And you're working on your mind. You're sharpening your mind. You're sharpening your voice. And that's what Saturn in the third is all about. And opposite it in Mars in the ninth, your Mars in the ninth wants adventure. It wants to learn. It wants to go abroad. It wants to do more than it's done before. It wants to work on personal growth. And Saturn in the ninth can help, or Saturn in the third can help, but it really can draw, it helps in the long run, but initially it's going to kind of draw you back to maybe the everyday things that you have to do. Because as I mentioned, the bigger perspective of Saturn in the third is doing lots of things in your local community or tasks or everyday things that are ultimately going to help you get better with your own mindset and your own communication skills. So it's like going to the DMV and practicing patience because it's a difficult scenario. Just have to sit there all the time. And it's like you're practicing the way that you speak to yourself in that scenario. Or, I'm not going to go off on examples, but I think you understand. So with Saturn the third, we can have just like a little bit more on our plate, a little bit more busyness. And ultimately it is helping us grow as individuals. But initially it can make us feel a little bit more weighed down or pessimistic or just caught up in our daily to-dos that distract us from the growth and adventure that we're trying to seek. Or if we are going on a trip, quite literally, there could be certain travel delays, like we missed the train that we're supposed to take, or the flight was delayed because of X, Y, and Z. So there can just kind of be more like environmental hiccups on a physical trip. But if it's just talking about an internal growth, there can be just more hiccups and delays and responsibilities that kind of interrupt what you wanted to be free-flowing and easygoing and just fun. So that's something that I'm seeing as well, is you guys might just be a little bit frustrated about that. And I pulled the Ace of Swords in reverse, which is talking about needing to rethink an idea or having clouded judgment. Saturn in the third can have us questioning our existing ideas. Again, it's really sharpening the mind. And so one way we sharpen the mind is ask lots of questions about things that we've already accepted as reality. With Mars in the ninth, there can be certain beliefs that you are excited about, but Saturn can come in there and challenge it and be like, well, I don't know if I believe that because of this thought and this thought and this thought. So right now you might be unclear about where you want to go or what do you even think about life, because Saturn is challenging those beliefs and those preconceived notions. So it's like it's clouding your judgment in this sense that you are not having the exact idea of what you want right now in your life. I think a lot of it is maybe a question mark, and that's okay. Like this transit is temporary and this feeling is temporary. I also pulled the Knight of Wands and Swords in reverse, which both have a very kind of like restless and unfocused energy, having energy that's like scattered or having delays. So I think this is again related to Pluto in the third, or sorry, Saturn in the third house, and could be related to Pluto in the first. But ultimately, you guys are going through a big transformation and creating a new identity for yourself. And I think you're not necessarily like on your set path yet. You're having your new emotional beginning in relationships and you're learning a lot about yourself in that process. But I think that there's still like I think you haven't quite landed at where you're trying to go. I think you're in a period of self-discovery. And because of that, you might feel like you're almost in a crisis of like, okay, I don't know where to go next. And I have lots of options and I have lots of things that I want to do. And I'm traveling and I'm doing this. And it's like very stimulating, it feels like, but it doesn't necessarily have this grounded and secure energy of like, this is what I want. This is where I'm going. This is who I am. So that's okay. You can go through this period of transition. This is all destiny. And you're going to come out the other side with this victory card with 2 4s on it. Very, very stable and secure. You're going to come out knowing again what you want, where you're going, and how to pursue things that bring you joy without being scattered. So it's like, that's the important thing here, is I think that some of you guys may, with this North Node in the 5th house, may be trying to figure out how to follow your heart more and that inner child more. But maybe in that process of doing it, it's kind of unclear to you about what you want to pursue. Maybe there are lots of options or lots of ideas, and the energy is scattered that way. And this is trying to say, just keep listening to yourself, keep flowing with the energy that's going on right now, and you will eventually find your way into a more settled version of following your day-to-day joy. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Capricorn. I hope that resonates. If it does, please comment down below. I love to read your comments and see how it relates to your life. That helps my practice. I think that helps everybody's practice, or everybody who reads the comments as well. And I just love to get to know the people on the other side of the screen who are watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends, and have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Aquarius, rising, and sun. For you guys, this Cancer new moon is happening in your 6th house of work, health, and daily routines. And I've been telling everyone this Cancer new moon is really helping us create a new emotional foundation that will allow us to step outside of our comfort zone in some area of our life. So for you, that is going to be taking place in your work and your health or your daily routines. So the way that you show up at work, the kind of things that you do, I'm really feeling like you're having the potential right now to actually step more into your purpose or make certain decisions that will align you with long-term work that you enjoy better. Because I feel like some of you guys might be doing things in terms of responsibilities or even in the way that you take care of your health that is a little short-sighted. And I feel like you're at a crossroads at this point in time where you're going to have the potential to activate more of your gifts and do exercises or routines in your schedule or actual like literal work and responsibility that is more aligned with who you are. So this is a very fated new moon because it is opposite Pluto in the 12th house and squaring the nodes in Taurus and Scorpio. So the Pluto opposition, I think, is going to bring up, often being in the 12th house, it's going to bring up fears and things that we need to let go of. So old habits, old ways of thinking and doing things, even sometimes like our old spiritual beliefs that may not be serving us, or even what's more common is old ways of kind of self-sabotaging. Those things can come up right now that will push you, or that you need to overcome, but will help push you into this new emotional beginning in your everyday life and your work and your healthy routine. So it's possible that some of you guys could be going through the process of kind of like an existential questioning of like, who am I? Where am I going? And needing to release old attachments so that you can create this new relationship with your day-to-day life and your responsibilities. And the Pluto and this new moon are both squaring the nodes. And this is really important because this is the last day we're having the nodes in Taurus and Scorpio. And then even today, it's going to move into a new sign. But this new moon is giving it a last push for us to create stability in some area of our life. And for you, that is in your family and home sector. So you guys, for the last year and a half, have been trying to find a new way to operate in home or family, or even in your relationship with your own emotions, that is a lot more stable and sustainable long-term for you, something that has legs. And we've been trying to work on that the last year and a half, but this is our last chance to really get a strong push from the universe to figure that out, to figure out our new way of creating stability within our home, our family, or our emotions. And so there could be things and elements of your change in home that also helps create this, through tension, because it is a square, but it also helps create this new beginning in your kind of work in your everyday life. So there's going to be something here that needs to undergo its own metamorphosis, and it could feel a little bit scary because whenever we have the nodes in, especially by, being squared, but when the nodes are in an angular house like this, the 4th and the 10th house, it has a really big impact on us in our lives. And the new moon squaring it is saying, like, we really need to make some big changes, or some big changes are happening to us. And it could feel almost like we're losing control with Pluto in the 12th. We're losing our way, or we're really having to trust the universe and like trust that the things that are removing themselves are ultimately helping us build this new future. So it's a lot of trust with this card here. It literally says trust. And then I pulled the unicorn, which has to do with like being connected to the divine. So I think that Pluto is trying to connect you more towards the divine and being able to surrender to the divine plan and the divine timing. I also pulled the tarantula card, which is somebody being at a crossroads in their life and deciding to dedicate to their life's purpose when maybe they've been distracted or haven't necessarily been putting the time towards that. Maybe they've always had busy things and things to do that have taken them away from that. And this is trying to get you to ask yourself, like, what really matters and how can I make time for what really matters? So, I also pulled the 10 of Pentacles in reverse for you guys. So there's something about money here that's coming up. Maybe you guys are going to need to spend some money. And I think this could have to do with Saturn being in the second house right now. So first of all, Mars is in your 8th and Saturn is opposite it in the 2nd. So I'm curious if there's going to be some kind of financial investment that you need to make or some kind of even financial loss. It doesn't have to be, but usually Mars opposite Saturn can bring about this feeling of reaching some kind of impasse or delay or hardship. So this could be like a bill coming out of nowhere and you're like, fuck, this kind of sets me back. Like I was saving money and this kind of feels like it came out of nowhere. Or feeling like you want to move towards a specific investment goal or pay off your debt goal, and there could be some kind of like actual physical thing that you need to buy or just something that is more material that takes precedence, that needs to be taken care of first, that could get in the way. This could also challenge your confidence with Mars opposite Saturn, where we start to feel like we maybe don't deserve something or we're not worthy or we're just needing to work on our confidence overall. And Saturn can make us feel like we don't have a lot to offer or we're needing to like create more wealth for ourselves or create more in terms of again having more to offer somebody. So the 10 of Pentacles in reverse can really show how like money issues can come to the surface in some kind of capacity and issues of worthiness in general. The 10 of Pentacles is our home and our stability and our financial future and having our career figured out. And with this in reverse, I just feel like you guys have a lot of questions and not those areas of your life. They still need some adjustments and they're not fully settled. And with the 4 of Cups in reverse next to that, I feel like you guys are not really sure what you want. You're not really sure fully what direction to go in. And it's a time for you to meditate and trust your intuition. Trust also with Pluto in the 12th, things that just happen on their own that feel very divine. Trust that it's all going to work out for you and that you don't have to control things. Or have it all figured out because things will unfold on the way that they're meant to. This Ace of Wands in reverse really shows me that there is something though that you're not fully acting on. It's an idea, but that has distractions or delays surrounding it. So I do feel like you guys have an inkling of something that really interests you, especially with this unicorn card, something that makes you special, something that you're gifted at, something that you want to pursue or you want to have in your life, but you're getting too distracted or you have too much on your plate. And this new moon in the 6th house is going to help you create more room and space for that in your life if you listen to your intuition about when to do certain things. So really follow your inner gut instinct right now. Even though with Saturn there could be some delays or insecurities that block that instinct or block the flow of that energy, ultimately this transit's very short, and ultimately you're going to notice that when you follow more of that path, more and more is going to unfold. When you follow what interests you, when you make certain choices to follow what matters to you, you'll see that again, more and more clarity happens to come into your life. You also have Mercury and Leo in the 7th squaring Jupiter in the 4th. So the area of home and relationships right now are a little bit at crossroads. So this is something that you'll have to have creative solutions to think about. Okay, whatever this looks like for relationships in your own home, family, or emotional situation. Maybe you're having, I don't know, I don't even want to give examples. I just want you guys to consider how relationships in home any kind of relationships and your home life are not fully integrated and might need some integration and some realistic integration, because the square with Jupiter can make you very like idealistic and kind of see the end goal, but it's like you actually need to step back and cater to the details in order to reach that end goal. So if there's something in relationships in home that needs some tending to bring these areas of your life together with more peace, just think about what that might be and take the steps to do that. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Aquarius rising. I hope this resonates. I know this message is a little bit abstract, but I also think that this could be helpful for you. So if it was, please let me know in the comments down below and how it pertains to your life, because that always really matters to me. And if you wouldn't mind, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and share with your friends, and have a great day. Bye. All right, and last but not least, we have Pisces, Sun, and Rising. This new moon in Cancer is in your 5th house, and I've been saying for everyone, this is setting a new emotional set point for us, a new emotional feeling of resilience in this area of our life, and will help us step outside of a comfort zone. So for you, with this being in the 5th house, this is actually more of a creative venture, or even if you have children, your relationship with your children. But there's usually something that we're needing to create, birth, bring to life that is a representation of us, that, or this could even just be dating again and putting yourself out there in some kind of way, socializing and connecting with people. But I really feel like for a lot of us, it's going to be something in relationship with what we're wanting to show the world is our gifts and our uniqueness and our creative ventures. So with you having a new moon here, it's really trying to get you to push beyond some previous limitations that may have prevented you from fully enacting some of these things. Maybe it could have been a fear of being visible. Maybe it could have been a fear of failure, or maybe you just didn't, maybe you should have a lot of priorities and you didn't give yourself like actual time to dedicate to something like this. And so I think that this new moon is your chance to do that. And it's very important because this new moon is a fated one, with the new moon itself opposing Pluto, and then both Pluto and the moon squaring the nodes. So first of all, let's talk about Pluto. So with Pluto in the 11th, you guys are going through a larger transformation in terms of your community and where you feel like you belong. And there can be elements of that, as well as like what you thought were your long-term aspirations, or who you thought were your friends, or wherever you feel like you were thinking that you were gonna, again, belong to. Those areas are kind of going through their own metamorphosis, and maybe there's going to be some endings there or some transformation of that energy. And there can sometimes be fear of like, what if people don't like this? But what if people don't accept this new me? What if people don't accept the thing I create? What if people don't enjoy or celebrate me in this way? And I think there can be fear around, again, visibility that can come with Pluto opposite the moon in the 5th. Another aspect of this is, again, that square to the nodes, which is what makes this so fated. The nodes are in Taurus and Scorpio for the final time. They're exactly 0 degrees and 0 seconds. And with the new moon squaring these nodes, it's really trying to give you a push for that last little bit of change that you're meant to create in your life, that you've been trying to do for the last year and a half. And for you guys, this has been about creating stability, because that's where the North Node is in Taurus, a stable sign, something that is stable, something that is also going to last you into the future, has longevity to it in terms of your mindset, and as well as how busy you are. And if you have social media or your communication, those elements are also have the potential to change, even relationships with siblings as well. But basically that area of your life is meant to become a lot more stable and sustainable. So like the way that you think in your everyday life, or how much work you do in your everyday life, or how you talk to your siblings, or how you talk to yourself or others, it's supposed to change to become stable and sustainable and support your growth long term. And we've been trying to work on that for a year and a half. So maybe you've been adjusting your schedule. Maybe you've been working on your mindset. Maybe you've been going to see a therapist, you know, whatever that looks like for you. You've probably already been working on it, and this new moon is really trying to get you for the very last time to make some final adjustments or to finish up and fully commit to what you were doing before so that you are able to feel more confident, more expressive. And I think that's the biggest thing here is like being much more expressive and being able to shine your light and shine your gifts. And this is also something we will really feel as we're approaching this Venus retrograde, which this new moon is pretty close to this Venus retrograde. So we're already having those themes come up. And I think that you guys are really going to feel that one strongly because of this new moon. And it's trying to bring you out of your shell. It's trying to bring you to really like own who you are and what you're really gifted at, and like praise yourself about it publicly, get recognition, speak about it, promote yourself, promote whatever it is that you're doing. Or it could be related to other topics. There's so many things. That's why I like doing general readings, but it also is kind of sometimes hard because there are so many ways to interpret houses. But there's something that you guys are meant to shine more about yourself and really own that in a public way. And this square to the nodes is asking you to confront areas in which you might feel like you're not as confident. And I can see that with the King of Swords in reverse. I feel like you guys have been having more of like a quiet power, like, oh, I know I'm good at this, or I know I've really accomplished this, or I've done this in my life. And you haven't fully owned it with the Six of Wands in reverse. And I feel like it's time with this square to really own this more publicly, to really feel like you're owning it out loud, like this is what I'm good at, this is what I want attention with, or what want recognition with, because it's all been kind of like private achievements, behind the scenes, feeling like you're making progress or doing things in your life that are great, but not, again, fully showing the world. And again, I think also you're not maybe even giving yourself the full capacity to fully go after whatever this interest is because of the fact that you have so many other responsibilities. So it's really about learning how to juggle and make time for whatever this thing is in your life, because you have, again, other things that are pulling for your attention. Ultimately, though, with this Ace of Wands, you are having inspiration, new ideas, growth, potential that are available to you. And a new moon in the fifth house is very much about that. So it's your opportunity to fully own and go after those exciting, inspirational kind of ideas that you have, but you have to give it the time and energy it deserves, and you have to also ask for the recognition that you deserve once you start to feel like you're talented at it. I do feel like there's another message coming in here, which I'm gonna talk about now. First of all, you've Mercury Leo in the 6th house, square Jupiter in the 3rd. I think that this could have to do with you needing to manage your schedule. The 6th and the 3rd house really, with the square here, really shows how we kind of feel like we'll have more time than we do, but things like pop up out of nowhere, or we decide to hang out with friends, or like something happens socially, or whatever comes up in our life, and it can really derail us and make it harder to have a schedule. And this is saying to try your best and create kind of like an optimistic schedule and then a really realistic schedule, and try to work with those energies, both energies, because who knows what will manifest. The other thing that I'm seeing here that everyone is going to be kind of like going through during this time that isn't really fun is the Mars opposite Saturn transit. So for you, Mars is in Virgo in your 7th house and Saturn's in your 1st. So there is a lot of tension being placed on your relationships right now. You want to move forward with relationships. You want things to be good. You're actually having like drive to work on them or to initiate things with them. Any kind of relationships in your life, like you have the drive there. But then with the opposition with Saturn, it's almost like there are parts of you that are still being that you have responsibility towards. With Saturn the 1st, there are ways in which you need to take care of yourself and certain things in your life that will take away from your relationships. Maybe you have certain elements of you that is still growing, or even things that you've held on to from the past. And that's actually something I'm seeing very, very strongly here. That is actually preventing you from fully like going after the relationships and the plans and the contracts, or whatever it is that you're doing with other people in a way that you feel proud of, because you're going through this process of really growing right now. So there's so many things. Okay, sorry, I have a bunch of cards. So I have, first of all, this memory card, and I have the Panther and the Scorpion. So I think some of you guys are holding on to memories of the past, and this could be with another person in your life or this same person. But some of you guys, especially with the Scorpion in reverse, are holding on to past resentments. And this Panther card is saying that there's a need to purge or annihilate those fears or those old memories that have a lot of triggering elements because they're coming into your relationships and negatively affecting them. So there could be, again, there could be fears that you're going to be like abandoned by somebody, or that you can't trust somebody, or, you know, whatever it is. It's saying that there's something that you really need to like look at and examine and free yourself from because of the way that it's creeping into your relationship dynamics. This card can be that this card is talking about when it's out of balance that we can be self-destructive. And I think it's more so self-destructive to our relationships. The Panther wants you to continue to grow. It doesn't want you to stagnate, and it can bring unexpected, uncomfortable, and sometimes even devastating circumstances into our relationships. So you might find that you feel like your relationships are going through these kinds of ups and downs or blockages, and it's harder to connect, or there are certain things that aren't resolved or coming up from the past. And this card is saying like it's time. Those things are coming up so you can purge them and release them. If there's been unresolved issues in relationships, they will come back up so that you can fully release them now. So trust this process. Trust that all of this is happening for a reason. And with this Lizard card, it really is a time in which you guys are very much shedding an old skin and embracing this new period in your dynamics with others. And you have to be able to let go and, again, purge the unnecessary in order to do this. The Lizard is also very sensitive. So you guys are very much more in tune with your own psychic abilities, your own intuition, and you might need some time alone, some time to process some of the things that you're going through, because again, stuff from the past is coming up for you to really address it now so that you don't carry it forward with you. And if you don't have the capacity in your day and time alone to actually sit and process this, then it's going to continue to come back and bother you until you give it the space that it needs. I kind of do want to pull a card around what could be coming up in relationships exactly. So I got the Beaver. So it seems like there could be something related to work. The Beaver is a lot about hard work. And I'm very curious if there is some element of work here and responsibility and duty that is affecting relationships. So maybe you have a lot of work, or what your person does for work, or there's some element of what they spend a lot of their time doing somehow affecting the relationship with you or this person. Maybe your work is weighing on you and that's affecting the relationship, or maybe there's just a feeling of not having a lot of space and capacity that is affecting the relationship overall. Saturn does tend to bring in the element of work as well. We can tend to have a lot of responsibility when it's crossing our sign. And so you might feel like that's something that you're weighed down by to some degree. The Beaver card says hardworking, loyal, tireless, family first. The Beaver personality is a welcome sight. They are good-natured, dependable creatures and have infinite love and enthusiasm for family. Although a Beaver doesn't usually initiate a project, once started, they will work steadily for weeks, months, or years. The Beaver card appears when the task at hand requires long-term, steady effort and can signify it's time for some selfless service, happy, meaningful work. If you're out of balance, you feel useless or worn out. And to bring it to balance, physical labor and selfless service. So I'm not sure how that relates to you right now, but with Saturn in the first, I think definitely the Beaver card is putting you guys into action, and making you work a little bit harder for some things. And one of those elements is going to be relationships. There's going to be some things that you need to work on there. So I hope this resonates for you, Pisces. If it does, please feel free to comment down below. I love to read your comments and how they relate to my message. That really helps my practice, and I think other people as well. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye.